Well, joining me now to discuss this and much more, I have aviation analyst and a member of the Aviation Roundtable, Mr. Olumide Ohunayo. Thank you very much for joining us on the show this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
What do you make of the Minister of Aviation had a Syracuse statement stating that there is no immediate solution in the short term to the crisis we have, which is rocking the aviation sector? We look at the price of Jet A1 fuel hitting as much as 800 to 900 price band from what we had just play back about 5 months ago. And then we also have statements from Senator Adeyemi also making reference to the fact that we have some individuals, wealthy Nigerians, who are taking this Jet A1 fuel out of the country illegally.
Well, I think the industry got the information from the minister today. Same with the last time you talked about the Senate committee chairman with trepidation, and we're not happy with comments from the two leaders. Now, what the minister has said is no short-term solution, so we'll all have to go through this
Pain.
for the next 6-7 months, through this pain. Yourself, myself, travelers, with the high cost of the ticket, and for the Senate committee chair saying that they smuggle aviation fuel to neighboring countries, and nothing has been or nothing was done to stop.
Now that's responsible for the current scarcity.
For the current scarcity, and not having any culprits to be brought to book. Smacks that we're not ready to solve immediate problems, and because if these problems can be solved in the short term, then we have such short-term solution. If the Senate said they are smuggling this product in neighboring countries, if you block the smuggling route, then that's a short-term solution. Again, there are modular refineries within Nigeria that are looking for the crude oil and are not being allocated the crude oil. Probably we'll begin to look at them now and say, okay, can you people start up with Jet A1 refining? And if we can help those ones, then rather than wait for the turnaround of Port Harcourt or Kaduna refineries that we've all waited for all our lives since we've been growing up, and there's no solution. Again, the Dangote we're expecting, we are not yet sure of the date that Dangote is going to start. So I think we should first plug the holes for smuggling, ensure that the tonnage brought in is what is being sold in the Nigerian market. We must first block that. That is very important. It's a good information from the Senate committee. But then, what are we doing to monitor and ensure that this aviation fuel does not go through the border? Why should we discomfort ourselves and make other countries comfortable? So those are short-term solutions to me. And we should not just throw it. The minister should not pretend not to have heard the Senate committee chairman make that allegation. And that is very heavy, coming from the Senate committee chairman on aviation, that this fuel is being smuggled. So I think we should address that. Then we also should look at the middle of refineries that are in the country right now who are waiting for crude supply. If we could discuss with them to start up with the aviation fuel, those are another short-term solutions. Then the third one is the ministry should lead a team to the Central Bank of Nigeria, whereby that official window exchange rate would be opened for the importation of those products for the Nigerian airlines and any other activity that has to do with
because this is a heavily dollarized market.
Yes, exactly. And right now they have to go to the black market, and even in the black market there's no dollar. So that, I think those are the three things that the minister can do for the industry now. Now we're too down now. It's to go.
So you don't buy the idea that there are no short-term solutions to mitigate the current
I do not buy
challenges.
If we can solve this, if we can take these three situations right now and just analyze, then we are talking about short-term solutions. Rather than wait for the refineries that we are not sure when the turnaround come in place, or then go to when it's going to start operation.
Let's talk about the airline operators of Nigeria, the conversation they've had with government in terms of driving a much more sustainable pricing model. Now, we know that it's difficult to have to operate at about 30-40% of your energy cost, and difficult at that time. Now we're looking at a price band which is affecting operational costs at about 70, 80, 90%. We see the likes of aero contractor also make mention of a temporary suspension of the flights. We also see the NTA also hitting hard down as well, just because of the audit they held of the airline. What do you make of the conversation line we've seen, the agenda push from the part of the airline operators to let the government understand really how much of a pinch the aviation sector is taken? Because if the picture is not clearly painted, it will be difficult to understand.
I think I need to commend the AON for the first time. They have been led and leading from the front which has always been a problem with that organization. In the past, we've wondered, you have so much power and you're not using it. Now they're using it, they're communicating, they're negotiating, they're bringing their problems forward. Everybody is seeing it. So you cannot just say the airlines are not being human. Today, like you said, we have one airline going down voluntarily. That's aero contractors. Though these are scheduled operations, other arms of the business are operating.
Are still operating.
Then Dana, involuntary by the regulator. So we have 8 left. Now they've come up and said, okay, they've put application forward to the NCA, asking for them to inform them that they will be increasing the fuel surcharge based on the distance, which will range between 40% and 25%, and asking the NCA not to tax that surcharge, but if they tax surcharge, the ticket fare will also increase. Now, the ticket fare is going to increase. There's no hiding place for that.
No doubt at all.
It would have to increase to commensurate with the cost of fuel. And that they've done. And I think they're doing everything humanly possible to remain afloat, to ensure that the economy is still going on, and also that Nigerians can fly. You can still get some fare below 100,000. But if you walk to the counter on the day of travel, or when you travel on the peak days and hours, then you might probably have very extreme fare. So if you have to travel now, you need to plan your travel, choose the day, the time, and the period, so that you do not fall into those peak hours or days that have heavy traffic and pay those exorbitant fares.
It seems the situation is getting worse because we had the same old discussions earlier at the start of the year where we're making projections and forecasts. Right now, we're throwing all of those to the wind because we are not starting the half year in an excited mood. It's a lot of pain the industry has to face. But now, as we speak today now, do you think the traveling populace that understand that air travel is the safest means? You can travel by road or by rail safely. You have your heart literally in your mouth. Now we have to travel by air. How do you think the traveling populace would accept news of further increment?
Well, quite naturally, you expected a bit dip in passengers' employment initially, because people want to first absorb the shock. Is it necessary to travel? But at the end of the day, when you look at our surroundings, look at the environment, we are being held down by the bandits on the road. We are held down by the rail. So Nigerians actually have an alternative than to fly. So there'll be initial shock. There'll be that dip in employment. But sometime in the future, maybe about a month or two, the passengers will pick up. Again, our prayer should be maybe we have more airlines coming in, and for those who are operating, maybe they can get smaller aircraft that can help.
You just really touched into the next question I was going to ask. Really now, the fate of new entrants. Now, we've also had conversations whether we're going to see airlines going down the drain, filing for bankruptcy or some merger. What do you think is the forecast we're also going to see as we're also looking at how things will play out for the year 2022 based on this heavy cost of aviation fuel and the Russia-Ukraine crisis lingering and continuing to exacerbate this pressure?
We started with 190 naira per litre this year, and today we are 900 or close to 900 naira per litre. We don't know where is it going to stop, but we're already predicting about 8,000 naira. What I see here is that you find that most of the big capacity aircraft might probably be backed. Aircraft that are wet leased would return. Some of the expatriates that's happened with Dana, some of the expatriates might have to go, so that airlines can reduce their cost of operation. And in doing that, we also expect that airlines should begin to talk to each other. You don't have to operate all your schedule. If you have an afternoon schedule,
and it's not to full capacity.
Full capacity, you can discuss with the sister airline to see how both of you can share that cost. And that's by putting the passengers there, and you get something rather than lose all through on that time of that route. So I expect some strong partnership within the airlines now. Big aircrafts being packed, the list, what list now being packed, and the expatriates too. So if the airlines can work on do some discussion, just as they're doing through their body now, they can let it translate into some commercial discussion among them. Then they may be able to swim through this heavy tide. Again, we're expecting ValueJet to join the fray any minute from now. But in aviation, any minute from now can be the next month. So if ValueJet can join, then you have more capacity to replace those lost through Aero and Dana. But Dana will definitely come back. Dana has that thick skin. They've gone through the worst part in the past, and they came back. And I expect Dana to come back. luckily it's economic and not on safety issue. So the government it's just something of getting their books and discussing with their banks and things would return for them.
And what do you think is the fate of the investing partners that we have with these airlines as well?
Well, where the times are not right in Nigeria right now. We're having a national elections coming up early next year. It's very difficult to begin to invest in anything without waiting for that election to come to pass. Coupled with the insecurity problem, the fluctuating naira, which is doing very badly when compared to other currencies, and today now the euro is falling to the dollar, the US is happy, but we are not getting anything from this. Our instead of catching up, it's just a free fall. And so I think if we're able to improve our monetary policy, if we're able to get this dollar available, and if we also meet our international commitment, what we have done to the foreign airlines now by not remitting their money, it's already affecting the international ticket fares. We're having the highest ticket fare between Europe and West Coast. It's a flight to Nigeria.
And so those fares are going to go even higher.
Yeah, it will go higher. The difference is that they don't just go 50-70%. They might just do it every week, 2%, 5%, and you will not notice it. It's when you go there maybe after about 4 weeks, that's increased. So that's it. They will have to increase it, and they'll put it on the first surcharge.
And let's also talk about airfield lighting as well. Now, we've had a whole lot of kickback from the stakeholders within the aviation space that this is not the best time to have such an infrastructure development. Your thoughts on this?
Well, the stakeholders have complained about the timing. Why can't the work be done overnight, since it's within the airport vicinity and it's safe from the insecurity malaise that is known within the Nigerian sphere now. But the fund said they had signed the project, and those contractors have asked for 2 months, but they said in no time of 3 months in case the contractors cannot come in, cannot get the project done in 2 months. And the project has started. But yes, the industry players are saying, look, why do you have to lock that runway down for that period that we can have half of the day? But panelists talked to this guy and said, well, we promise to manage the one runway available. But then that extra cost, and I know why they're complaining now, is because of that taxing the aircraft from the international wing to the local wing where the local flights are operated. So that's extra fuel burnt in taxing is that extra cost that the airlines are looking at and saying, look, we need that the fund can help with having flights operating part of the day before closing down the runway. And I think, but I don't know, I know they're still trying to push that offer, but funds has talked to this government that runway is short for aviation.
And I'm doing now.
But we're eager to see the runway come out with the
Exactly.
runway light. It's taken a long period, almost about 12 years now, that we've not had that runway light on that runway. And
we're all doing the analysis of the performance of the Minister of State for Aviation, Hadi Sirika, at this point in time now. This is really a tough time to have to maneuver through. He's doing his best, but a lot more is expected. In your assessment now, how would you rate the performance of the minister, the conversation lines that we've also had, and the projections for aviation looking at the second half of the year?
Well, the minister moved it from Minister of State to Minister of Aviation.
Yes, Minister of Aviation, yes. Full
minister. And we are here. If it's getting approval for projects within for the parastatals, yes, he has a knack of moving to the Federal Executive Council, pushing this paper. You won't even hear anything. You just hear them reel out the approval. Just like the one that was approved for the 2 airports recently, the one in the Port Harcourt, I think Port Harcourt and Enugu, for some equipment for the airport. It pushes his approval for projects, but I think the issue we have with him is that he has a roadmap, and barely on the last leg. The button has gotten the last player now, and none of the roadmap has come to fruition. And I don't see now with the coming elections, like we said before, people know that in this country, even if the same party wins, they hardly continue the same policy. You expect some investors to say, we would rather wait for the elections to be over before we can continue discussions with you. And that's the kind of thing I expect to play out in some of those roadmap projects that he has pushed towards the end, such as the national carrier and the concession of the airports.
You make mention of the national carrier and the concession of the airports, and these are two big conversations that we've not necessarily seen so much of an improvement in. The whole bidding process came up with some excitement, and then all of that just went down the drain as well. And the part where government continues to take one of the biggest actions, where lies the part of investors. We also have to look at the current state of the national carrier as well. With this whole crisis lingering for far too long, that agenda continues to move down the drain as well.
Yeah.
How do you think these two elements, which are some of the highlights or the shape-ups of the biggest successes for the minister for this year, will pan out?
I think right now the national carrier is being pushed at that self-promise rather than the national promise. Because if it's a national promise, you will know that this is not yet appropriate time for that because of all that is happening right now. But we've pushed it for about 7 years. I think you know that this is going to affect my legacy if I cannot push it through. But one thing is to push it through, push down the truth of everybody, and that is for us to see it move after May 2023 next year. Do we want to seek money for pride, or we want to rather wait and build and wait for that appropriate time for it to come? The process has started, but please don't rush it. Don't make it one of the things. You can hand over the project to the incoming minister or incoming government, but rather I would not want them to see that it must be fulfilled before the end of the term, because that might just stamp it, add more to the woes of the airlines that are coming, and the one that we are bringing in, the new baby, might not even survive in fancy if we have to rush it, because it's very difficult to get investors now because of the existing climate insecurity, the elections coming up, and it's sorry state of Naira that's supposed to be the major revenue earner for that airline. So it will be difficult. Again, on the concession of the airport, they just finished touring some countries to see how concessions have been done. They were able to get the unions on their side now because they took them on the tour too, and now they are happy. So we wait for the process, and as we march towards the last 6 months, I just hope they can expedite action on that, so that will stand before the election nearing heat comes into the equation. Again, the Abuja airport was once concession. Was once concession by President Obasanjo, and when President Yar'Adua came in, he reversed that concession. He reversed that concession, and because they just had about 3 or 4 months, it was done about 3 or 4 months before the new government. So we should be very careful we don't do the same line.
How much of a hit do you also think these domestic intricacies would also have when we are looking at establishing Nigeria as a regional hub? That also remains one of the bleakest promises we have to deal with, losing some of our operations and activities to the likes of Ghana and a whole lot more. To what extent do you think Ghana and other players within the West African corridor will leverage on this?
I think it's just, Dave, let's save ourselves. It's better we first come home. Let us solve our issues before start looking at their dreams, good dreams. No doubt. But the existing situations we found ourselves, the falling Naira, our inability to remit funds of the foreign airlines. They are all in the industry. All those affect, and it's affecting both insurance, security, negotiation, credibility.
Because we had the latest report from IATA as well, stressing the need
credit worthiness. And once IATA speaks, they copy almost every...
That's almost a dampener.
Yeah, yes. They just copy almost every organization within the industry. And when you begin to push anything out, everybody quickly refer you to that. So I think there's a need for us to first sit down. Let us solve all this problem. We can just continue to develop our domestic aviation. If new airlines are coming up, continue to do that, but don't start taking big. You will just... what will make might discourage us. So it's better we just continue to develop, maybe work on our infrastructure as they're doing right now, expand it, and prepare for that glorious time that will come, that we're expecting, but not at the moment.
And another issue we have to deal with, and the prospect being pushed aside to the backbencher, is any chance of us having a maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility in the country. That should also help reduce the cost of operations for domestic players.
I do not understand what is delaying that MRO in Nigeria. Organizations have come, the government have made so much plans, but up to this moment, none has shown that groundwork to begin work. All we see that, yes, we have met with them, they've agreed, but nobody's coming. The MRO involves a lot of money. And if you have to sink such money, you must have guarantee that your money will be safe. Now, a man that is having just 7 to 8 months left, would you want to risk investing such funds at this moment? I think that is what we have found ourselves. What we would not do in the last 7 years.
Why do you think you can do it
now? Do it
now?
in about 7, 8 months. It's better we just fix all that things, keep your assets, expand them, keep them in good condition, and maybe wait for when the atmosphere is nice, begin to think about bigger investment and expansion.
Are you one of those who would also say this is the time where we need the Minister of Aviation and government at large to also think of how to sustainably support the aviation sector, intervention funds? That's what I'm making reference to right now, because it's difficult for the local airlines to stay afloat around the businesses. And the previous intervention fund we had was just a drop in the ocean at the peak of COVID. What do you think government can do now? The minister said there's no immediate solution, but how do we provide succor?
Well, give them access to the official rate. That's all. That's one of the things I can see now to support the airlines. If the central bank can give them access to the official rate, that would help. Let us meet our financial commitment to our partners, so that when they now go out, they are not seen as being creditworthy. Again, there's a need to see how the banks and insurance company can support the aviation sector, because we need to now start doing that at a business, and then looking at what rate and the interest rate for funds for the sector. Those are the things I need us to start looking at. I don't want to go into that stabilization fund any further, because even for the airline themselves, they have shown that they've not been able to prove to us that it was helpful.
Yes.
Because nobody reported back to the public what was gotten and what it was used for. So how would I now push for another set of subvention when the last one that was given, it was screamed, all the media was there pushing for it, and when it came, they all kept quiet.
Let's wrap up our conversation now, Mr. Ohunayo, with the lines of communication now. Flight delays and cancellations are some of the biggest realities we have to face as we speak today now.
Yeah.
In terms of airline operators and their communication to their most cherished customers now, who still want the best of services and are not looking at the interplay here as insiders, but from the perspective of outsiders, silencing that noise of exploitative tendency and properly communicating, because the customer must be treated right.
Exactly.
Your thoughts on these?
Yeah, you've said it all. Communication has always been a problem, and you notice what happened when Dana stopped, when NCA stopped Dana from flying, and the next thing, the passengers were at the airport the next morning, and they were trying to vandalize assets of both Dana and the airport operator with MM2. I need the customers to exercise some patience. You do not take laws into your hands. Make your necessary reports to the appropriate authorities, which is the Consumer Protection of the NC, and even the Consumer Protection Council too.
The FCCPC.
The FCCPC. You can take your reports there, and you find out that this organization are taking care and taking the fight of the consumer on their behalf. But for the airlines, communication remains key. And for those flights that are cancelled, refunds processes must be communicated properly and must be addressed by the airlines. If we ask passengers who come late, who reschedule their flight, to pay a fine, then when you do not provide the service, then do the needful. Now the needful is communicate with your passengers, refund their money, and even give them some extra incentives to make them fly you.
Thank you so much for your time on the show today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Olumide Ohunayo. And then we just hope that at the end of the day, the resilience the aviation sector has always shown will definitely show up one more time. And then we wrap up the year 2022 on a much more positive note. And this whole lingering crisis of Russia-Ukraine will definitely reduce. And then we have more aviation fuel coming to the country, reduce the cost of operation.
Hopefully,
fly high.
I just hope they can give crude oil to the modular refineries around now, so that they can start refining the aviation fuel. We can't wait till Dangote or the turnaround maintenance of the federal government-owned refineries.
We keep our fingers crossed. Thank you once again.